Welcome to our September 15th edition of Monday Night Memories, Rose Bowl Recollections, and Memories Shared. Today's guest, Nate, is somebody we both know well, Kelly Kitchel, of course, who was a redshirt sophomore. Played special teams mostly that season, was a Boilermaker from 1998 to 2002. And the good thing about today's show is that we get to hear a little bit about how their weekend went as the team had its reunion for the USC game a couple of days ago. But Nate, Kelly's one of the great guys and has given a lot to the community through coaching. He's a can-do guy, but also a special memory from him because he hosted about a lot of the guys to the team at his house for this past weekend.
Yeah, I think if there's anybody that embodies the Purdue spirit, it's Kelly Kitchel. I know when Rob Blackman throws down to him on the sideline for the last break before kickoff, he always says it's a great day to be a Boilermaker, and Kelly really lives that out. I think also he's worth noting, Alan, for a guy that really keeps the Joe Tiller spirit alive.
Yeah.
In and around Purdue, and deserves a lot of credit for that. But just a true Boilermaker through and through, and he's in the right spot coaching on Friday nights and on the sidelines for Purdue Radio Network on Saturdays.
Well, it's funny because he drove. He has a very close relationship with Arnett Tiller. Several years ago, made it a family trip to Buffalo, Wyoming, to take some of Joe Tiller's memorabilia back and his and Joe Tiller's RV. So there's a lot of love there, and I know he was good for him to be able to be he sees Arnett and has talked to Arnett, but the opportunity to be back with her this past weekend was good too.
Yeah, very, very special indeed. And Kitch has so many good memories and stories to tell of that Rose Bowl season. So a great guest for you to have.
Our esteemed guest for Rose Bowl Reflections and Recollections, Kelly Kitchel. And Kelly, he's been kind of the social director of the class in a lot of ways. He's laughing at that, but there's some truth to that. And of course, after this past weekend, and the Rose Bowl team and Big Ten championship team came back to Ross-Ade Stadium for the USC game, and that was quite an event. You had a few things to juggle that weekend with coaching football Friday night. You've got and you were hosting guys, but it had to have been a great experience just to see the guys again.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I had some friends come in. Some of the guys came in on Thursday, so we were able to hang out a little bit on Thursday. One of them caught my daughter's volleyball game, 7th grade volleyball. So they came. So they had some action on Thursday night, and then Friday most of the guys came in, and I couldn't be at the dinner Friday night, so I was coaching high school football. But by the time I got home from football, I had probably 30, 35 guys that already started a fire in the backyard. My fridge was, had a pretty good dent in it already, and they were having fun in my backyard. So it was a lot of fun. I think we were up to about 3 or 4 in the morning, all just talking and having a good time and just sharing stories and just really just enjoying being around each other. A lot of us stay in touch through texts and things like that and phone calls, but we don't get to see each other as much. And oh man, it was terrific to have, just to see everybody, have guys in my house and their wives. And it was just so much fun. So, and then Saturday was amazing. Everything but the final score, but it was amazing just being together. That delay, I think it bothered a lot of people, but we were all, I kind of snuck over and was hanging out with them in between the delay, and man, that got us a good chance to kind of catch up with everybody too. So it didn't bother us at all. We were able to all be together and just have a great weekend.
And Drew's plane finally got to land.
So
when he got there, that was a good thing as well.
Yeah, the weather, I think they had to circle for like an hour, I think, before they found a good time that they could land that the pilot felt comfortable with. So he was up there circling for a while, but when you're in a plane like that, I don't think it bothers you too much. But I know he was wanting to get on the ground and get over to see everybody. And so he got there and we were able to, all hang out for a bit and then hang out in the field. And I'll tell you, the John Purdue Club did a great job of hosting us. And, in that first quarter, we were all standing right in the north end zone, and we had the action coming at us there as USC was trying to score, and the Boilers made a big stop there on 3rd down and made them kick a field goal. And I mean, that was like right in front of us. We couldn't have got closer to the action. And a lot of the guys were just into it, And it meant a lot that they were able, that they took care of that and had us down on the field. And the intro, and Mrs. Tiller was down there, Arnett and her family and her two daughters were there, Renee and Julie were there as well. And I looked over as she walked out of the tunnel and kind of turned around and saw it, and just taking it all in. Tears were streaming down her face. Yeah. And I think there wasn't a dry eye in the lot of us that were around there, is that, just that's, and I kind of whispered in her ear, I said, the Tiller Tunnel is the most prominent thing in Ross-Ade Stadium. I mean, when you walk in there, that's what you see. And I think it's a fitting tribute to Coach Tiller and what he meant to this program and what he meant to us. And it's a great thing. So it was just absolutely, the whole day was just terrific.
Well, and I think the one of the things that was great too is that they, Arnett she came up with Boiler Up. I mean, there ain't no question about that. I don't care how, but not that anybody says anything different, but the fact that credit was there. And I can remember even in Joe's passing and seeing her in Buffalo, Wyoming, that, just the fact that when that happens and when it happens earlier than you would like, and that we all would like, that, you don't want to be forgotten. And that's clear. You guys have done a great job of keeping that legacy alive. You personally have, but that's what these things are about. Yeah, it's about winning football, going to the Rose Bowl. That's a big deal, clearly, but it's really about keeping that legacy alive.
It is, and she's done a great job of being there for us too. Anytime I've called Arnett, she's picked up the phone, and just sometimes it's just I give her a buzz just to see how she's doing. Just want to talk a little bit, and she's always there and available for us, and she's given back so much. We did when I went out there after his funeral, she asked me and my family to come back and help pack up some of Joe's things, and some of the things that the kids didn't. The kids had their memorabilia, but there was so much out there. And she said, there's some things that I'd like to donate back to the National Football Foundation. It's the Joe Tiller chapter of the National Football Foundation. And she said, I'd like to donate it back, and you guys can auction it off and use those money for, to help the program and create scholarships for student athletes and football players. And that was great. I mean, it was awesome going through his things, and my kids were able to be with me doing that, and my wife, and we just had such a fun time doing it. And then this trip, Julie drove back, and she had a whole car for it. They got more that they're going to donate too. So that's going to be coming up. They're going to have another auction. I know Orlando's helping, facilitate that a little bit. And so they're going to auction some more things. So there'll be opportunities to get some more memorabilia from Coach Tiller and from his times here, and it'll help support a great cause in the NFF. And so it's she's really committed to Purdue. She's committed to us as people, the former players. And, she said, when I come back, she said this, I can't remember when I was talking to her. I think it's before the game. She said, there's a lot of things I don't remember sometimes. She was like, I'm getting up there and there's, some people I don't remember, but she said, every one of you guys that I came out of here that came here, I remember every single one of you. And she said, it's and that's just a testament. She was always around the program. She was baking cookies for us. She was, always just part of our lives, and, someone we could lean on if we needed her. And, a lot of us, all of us, unless you lived in town, your mom was, only a phone call away, and Arnett was there for us if we needed her. And, so it's just it was just terrific. I mean, you just kind of reflect on people that mean a lot in your lives, and she's one of them for sure.
The ultimate family trip. The kids your kids will come back when they're 30 and 40 years old, and they're getting there. They're not there yet, but that group will never forget that trip, I would think.
No, they still talk about it. I remember we were going through the Dakotas, and one of the things that was in there were life-size cutouts of Coach Tiller. So they were like a life-size cutout of him. And I remember we had we'd stored them in the shower in the bathroom, and I think I hit a bump or something. We were going up in the mountains, and I hit a bump, and all of a sudden we look and the door flies open, and there's Coach Tiller staring at us. They fell out of there, was like hanging out, and so the kids still talk about that. And we were able to. Bill Moose was the athletic director in Nebraska at the time, and she wanted to make sure he was the only senior when it was Coach Tiller's first assistant coaching job at Washington, and he was the lone senior that year. she wanted to make sure that he had one. So we took a detour and drove over to Nebraska and dropped one off for him. And we spent an hour and a half with him in his office, and they gave us a tour of the whole facility there. My kids were just on the field, just loving it, and they were throwing the football around the field in Nebraska. And what a great experience. And, but listening to him is, it wasn't just at Purdue that Joe Tiller made an impact. It was anyone he touched and anyone he coached. And it was just such a special time to just share stories. And it's funny, his first year coaching Bill Moose, we had very similar stories of me playing, for Coach Tiller as well. So we could kind of bond over that kind of thing. And just a lot of fun. Just like I said, he's a man that touched so many and changed a lot of lives.
I think there's a Lucille Ball movie. You have to catch the long trailer with Desi Arnaz. I always think of you guys because they hauled that trailer all around the country. Kitchel did the same and made a difference. And because not only did we raise money the first time go around, it sounds like there's some more to be done in terms of that. When you look back at that year, and you've obviously had a career in coaching and in media with being a sideline reporter, etc. Yeah, put it into context about, you've been around teams a long time in high school, college, et cetera. What made this group unique in 2000 to got it over the top, got it over a tough start. You're 3-2 after 5 games, and you're down 28-10 to Michigan at the half. It had to be some level of doubt, maybe not, but there may have been doubt in the partisans. But put that in perspective now, looking back at what that team accomplished.
Well, I think it also goes back to the teams before us, and I'll kind of, lean on my first year, and it was the year I was in the stands watching. I was a gray shirt, and so I was in the stands, and it was the Michigan State game where we blocked the kick and returned it back, and then got the onside kick, and we were able to, we beat a Michigan State team that we were down and out. Half the stadium left, and then you look back at the next year, where there would just seem to be games that we found a way to win, and there. So you think about the Minnesota game. I guess that was a little bit after, but you think also about the Wisconsin game as well. We blocked the kick, and it just they kind of all. Even it didn't matter where we were at or who we were playing or whatever. We felt like we could win, even if we were down a couple of scores. We felt like that we had a shot because he instilled that belief in us. And so in that season, even though we dropped a couple, and we still felt like we were a really good football team. And there was some special things we could do, and as a team itself. There was never any dissension. And I've been, like I said, I've coached a lot of places. I've coached for 25 years since I played. I started right out of college. I started coaching and played high school football and college football. And that was a team, though, that didn't have any dissension in the ranks at all. We didn't always get along. There was always, there were times that there'd be a little, scrapping in practice, and that we're all competitive guys, and I got my share of fights and things, but that never spilled over into the locker room, right? We left it on the field. It was just and at the end of the day, we're all teammates, and that was the closeness of that group. And you could see it. Coming back and just I don't know if I've hugged more people in a weekend than I did this weekend. It was just probably when my dad died, it was when I probably hugged more people, in a time of that. But this was a time of celebration and just seeing everybody come back and so proud of not only accomplishments, but proud of each other and what who we've become and what we did while we were here at school. And it's just it was a team that was super close. And I'll give you a story here. So there was a guy that came back that wasn't on the Rose Bowl team, but he came in with us, and his name's Doyle Butler. You probably remember Doyle Butler
from Arizona.
Yeah, he was Tucson, Arizona. Played at Sabino High School, and so he came to Purdue. He was a tight end, and then he transferred to USC and played out at USC. And he came back for the games. Purdue was playing USC, and got a hold of some guys, and he ended up coming out to our house and at night, a Friday night. And it everybody just embraced Doyle, right? He was only with us for a year, maybe 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
But he wasn't with us very long. But man, it was like we were all so excited to see Doyle. We hadn't seen him forever. You see maybe you have Facebook or whatever, but I haven't kept in touch with Doyle at all. And it was just so good to see him and find out what he's doing now and how his family is. He brought his wife and they're high school sweethearts. It was just so cool. And at the end of the night, he said it wasn't like this at USC. He said, I've got some friends there, but he said, if we all came back together, he goes, I don't know that it would, he goes, I know it wouldn't feel the same, but he said, I don't even know if people would want to hang out together like this. He said, they'd all go do their own thing. And he said that Purdue's just a special place that, that's coming from a guy that's been at a couple different places. And he said, it's not like that everywhere. And it's not like that group everywhere. So, and I've heard that from a couple other people. I've got friends that played at Michigan, friends that played at other places. And for whatever reason, that the group that we had, and it wasn't just that 1 year for me, it was every year. It was just the culture that Coach Tiller brought to Purdue. Just everybody was invested in each other. And that was just such a big deal. We invested ourselves to our teammate. We played for our teammates. And that was one of his things is, you don't want to let your brother down. The guy that's playing next to you, don't let him down. Right. I mean, and so we kind of took that mentality, and I've tried to live that through my life and try to teach it to my kids and try to teach it to the kids that I've coached over the years. And so his legacy did not end with, him coaching or when he retired or when he passed away. His legacy will live on forever because the things that he taught us and the things that we're trying to, do in life come from him.
Speaks volumes, really, that when the Doyle Butler example, because again, very highly rated recruit leaves Purdue. That may have, I don't know, I wasn't there in terms of, but anytime a guy leaves your program and you guys welcome him back, that very, very cool thing. And I wasn't aware of that, but I do remember Doyle Butler and that when Purdue got him to commit back then, and that's awesome that you guys were able to do that. Leadership is a huge part of this, and you've got guys like Drew Brees and Aiken Adele, others on that team. Just talk about that group and what it took. And there are others. I mean, many other guys that were top, Jason, even guys that didn't play all the time, the Jason Lorazels, though Lorazel played, Ben Smith, those guys. But talk about that group that really got that brought leadership to that team and helped steer the ship through that 2000 season.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, and each of our positions had leaders. I could kind of go through it, and some guys led vocally, some guys led by example, and I think of a guy like Matt Light who led our offensive line quite a bit, and but also Chucky Akobe is one of those guys that I love. I love Chucky. Chucky and I, man, we are good friends, and he was one of those guys that I admired so much. He was an undersized guy that just never quit. Right. I mean, he was gonna find a way to block you. Matt thought so much about our team, our teammates. He couldn't make it this weekend. He had a prior commitment, but his son's in school here. And he called me on Friday night. He said, hey, my son's here. Is there any way I can get him around you guys? He goes, I just want to get him around and be around the team. So we ended up getting him, we found some tickets for him. He was able to join us in the pregame celebrations and do some things. So that speaks volumes that he just wanted his son to kind of meet a bunch of us and, be around the guys that meant a lot to him. And, but when you're talking about just leaders and things on the team, that's kind of all speaks together. I mean, it was just, and I don't know I can't remember if with Randall Lane was on the Rose Bowl team. I can't remember, but Randall was a receiver as well. That
98, 99, right? I think he was gone. Yeah, he was gone. JUCO guy that only played 2 years, but yeah.
But Randall was, I mean, and when you talk about the Rose Bowl team, like I said, it also goes to the ones that taught us leading up to that time. I mean, you can't really talk about the Rose Bowl team without some of the guys that were there before and really got us to the point, to being successful so we could build upon that year too. We didn't all just come in that year. I mean, the Jimmy Nedraks of the world, he was a center for us. When I came in, I mean, that guy, you'd have thought that, he was not the strongest guy in the world, probably not the most athletic, but man, he got it done. Right. Yeah. And I was not the strongest guy and not the most athletic. And it taught me I can find a way to get things done. Right. I mean, it's just things like that just continue to, elevate your program going forward. And so, I know they celebrated that Rose Bowl team, but you could celebrate the teams before and teams after just as much, because it was just the stars aligned that year for us. And we were able to get it, find the wins that needed to happen that year and overcome some things. But it's just, like I said, I was just so fortunate to be part of it. And you're right, the leadership all around, when you think of it, you think of Drew, you think of Aiken.
Yeah.
But there were so many guys on that team that you can point to that were just instrumental in doing the little things every day in the weight room, every day, all the way through that made a big deal. I mean, a guy, like I said, my roommate Brady Doe, he got the last interception of the IU game. That was a big deal. He still got the football. He's probably not supposed to, but he kept the football. So IU, his dad's got it. So, I mean, there's just little things like that all the way go through our program, and we're telling stories all the way through. And it's just we want to be able to create something that, others can build upon. And we think we did. And, I told this, Brady and I were walking, we went over to the tailgate. We were with Brian Jackaway. He was one of our guys on there. We were at his tailgate and we were walking to another one, and we walked right past it. And Brady kind of looked up at the stadium. He's like, man, he said, we kind of helped build this thing. Yeah. And I said, we did. I know we were that group, and our group that we came in, we take a little bit of ownership and a little bit of pride that we helped build Purdue to where it is today. And that's pretty cool, right? I mean, that is pretty neat that we were here at a time that transformed our program into like kind of the next level and got us towards the top of the Big Ten. We were a ranked football team, for a lot of years, and just went to bowl games every year. I mean, that just doesn't happen, right? It was a lot of work that went into it. So we feel a lot of self-pride with that and in each other, that we were able to kind of put the work in to make some things pretty cool happen for people.
Yeah, you think about where Purdue football was heading into when Joe Tiller took that job. I wasn't sure they weren't going to be playing soccer in Ross-Ade Stadium in 10 years. I mean, the way it was going, you definitely made it into the 20. You brought Purdue football beautifully into the 21st century. And yes, it's never been an easy ride or a linear ride since, but it's the possibilities are there. Even with Coach Barry Odom, we saw a little bit of that on Saturday. That steps in the right direction. It's a big job, not always easy to get done, but I think you guys have living proof that it's possible. Now, I got to ask you before I let you go a couple questions on or thoughts on your favorite moments or what you now look back at the moment of being on the field in the cold evening. You guys probably didn't think it was too cold after beating Indiana 41-13 and having that celebration in that moment of running on the field at the Rose Bowl, what that was like for you, or if there was another seminal moment that you recall it that you take with you to this day.
The moment that touches me the most, that I kind of remember most vividly, I guess, was that IU game, and it was towards the end, or it was at the end of the game, and they threw an interception. It was to Brady, and he caught it there in the end zone, like I said. But I remember that was in the north end zone, and I remember sprinting down. Clocks were at 0. We sprinted down, and I grabbed him and hugged him. And all of a sudden, I feel like we turned around, and the field was completely full of people. Yeah. And then I look up in the stands, and the stands look completely full. I'm like, how is it possible that we still got 60,000 people in the stands, and the field's completely full? And then all of a sudden, we realized we got to get to the other end, right? So the Roses were at the other end, and that's where they were kind of setting everything up for that. And it felt like it took forever, but it was great because we got students that are hugging us. We find family members that are our own, some of our teammates, family members that were on the field that were hugging on the way down there, and just weaving our way through and smiling the whole time, and just finding our way over to our own teammates that were all up in the south end zone with the bucket of roses. And it was just something that will stick with me for. It's almost like I can still, smell the smells of that time. And like I said, I got hit in the head a lot in college, so I don't remember a lot in college, but I do remember. I can vividly remember that moment in time, and it was pretty incredible. Just to, you have that, you work so hard for something, and you knew it was there. Like we knew we had a pretty good shot at beating those guys, and we knew that if things fell right, we were going to win the tiebreaker, right, to go to the Rose Bowl. So we're like, we feel pretty good about this whole thing that going in. So you kind of knew going in, but then you didn't really know until it happens. And they put it up on the Jumbotron that we're going to the Rose Bowl. And my gosh, that was just, I mean, it was just something that you dream about as a kid. And it was coming to life right in front of our eyes. And then, I kind of liken it a little bit. First year, we took a team to the state championship. It was, you win a semi-state, and then all of a sudden you realize we're going to state. Like it was like it didn't really hit you until that time, right? You don't think of, if you're coaching, if you're playing, you try not to really think about what's next, and then all of a sudden it hits you, and it's like, man, we're there, right? And so it's that's a really cool feeling, and it's something that I'll never forget. And it was something that I'm so fortunate to be able to share that with the guys that I did. It was, and I'll tell you, coming back to my house and having 30 guys at my house was, we told them, hey, there's beer in the fridge, there's food gonna be out, come on over, whoever invite. I told the guy, like Brady and those guys were staying in my house, I said, invite who you want. I didn't know if anybody'd come. I didn't know if they'd want to go to Harry's or want to go somewhere else or do whatever. And all of a sudden I go there and our house is full, and I'm like, that's awesome. This is awesome. I was like, hey, guys wanted to be around each other. And, it was just, and my wife said, I think it's just because we're getting old. She said, we want to go to the bars. I said, I don't care. I said, we're all together, and we're just really enjoying it. And like I said, those kind of moments are just something that's what we live for, is to have those close bonds, close, knit times, and feel some success, and just really, I would anything material in the world, I'd trade in a heartbeat to have relationships that we do with my teammates and their families and everything. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think so. You're going to have, I'm going to guess in 2040 and 2050, you're going to have reunions that it will be.
I hope so. I hope they keep doing it.
I think you guys have set the tone that, it's when groups get together, and obviously the success has something to do with it. I get that, but just the guys we've interviewed during this series, you can tell, A, they're quality people, and B, they're very much tied to their teammates, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. And if Purdue doesn't do anything, I may just have them out of my house. I mean,
there you go.
Those guys are always welcome, and it's, like I said, it's something pretty special.
All right, Kitch, thanks so much for your time. We've enjoyed this series, and I'm glad we've gotten one now, obviously post-event. And again, it's all part of this special year of celebration as Purdue celebrates the 25th anniversary of its Big Ten championship and Rose Bowl team. Only one of two teams in Purdue history to make it. That makes it extra special and extra meaningful. So, Kitch, have a great rest of your day. And thanks also to our good friend, our mutually good friend, Nate Barrett, and the good folks at Twin City that helped put this on. And we'll look forward to more of these throughout the fall as we continue to connect with guys on that team. And there's still some guys to get that we'll look forward to having. But, Kitch, thanks again.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it.
That was Kelly Kitchel on our Chariot Auto Group Monday Night Memories, and the guy that's our guy with Chariot Auto Group in Twin City, Nate Barrett here. And Nate, always good to hear from Kelly. And these have been a lot of fun to do, and fun to hear these guys, these former players' recollections of that special season.
It has, and of course, as you mentioned in the Open, the Rose Bowl team in for that USC game, a very special reunion, a lot of hugs, a lot of faces that you could tell they hadn't seen each other in a while. So Kitch, as much as anyone, gets great joy from that. I must also add, Alan, that Kitch, along with many others, have really slimmed down from their play.
Yeah, they look good.
They all look sharp, and you don't carry that O-line weight around forever. A lot of them are in great shape.
All right. Well, we may take a week or two hiatus from our Monday Monday Night Memory Series Rose Bowl Recollections. We'll pick them up in mid-October, we plan, and we appreciate all of you taking the time to watch and or listen to this. We really enjoyed doing this series, and have a great rest of your Monday night and your week.